Okay, I'm recording as well, and we are live. Welcome everyone to our live on LinkedIn. It's the first of the academic year. My name is Ms.V, and I am here to be talking to you about all things careers. Okay, sorry, there was a little bit of a gap because I kind of was in and out of LinkedIn. I just needed to make sure. I definitely need some help behind the scenes. I'm so excited. The level of enthusiasm over at my end is probably a little bit too high for the average person, but we're going to go about and do this anyway. I want to welcome everyone to an incredible conversation. Today, I am going to be meeting and speaking with three incredible professionals. We are global this evening. We're going to start with Cliona McMenamin. I'm sorry if I mispronounce that. I do it every time. Cliona joins me from Dubai here in the United Arab Emirates. She is an experienced mathematics teacher and leader and fully qualified career practitioner with a master's degree in education and a postgraduate degree and official qualification in career development. Cliona is currently running a careers program at Dubai College here in Dubai. Welcome to the panel, Cliona. It's so exciting to have you with me.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here too.
Alongside, we have Wajd AlHashmi, who is from the United Arab Emirates. He's a program manager, a master coach, a financial wellness coach. Wajd is invested in empowering the youth with financial and well-being awareness for the future. Welcome, Wajd. I'm so excited to have you with me as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And then last but definitely not least, we have Marie-Audrey Simard, who is zooming in from Ontario, Canada, a mother of six, an advocate of student voice, placing the student at the heart of education and cultural pedagogy. Marie has a passion for education. She is taught from grade 5 to grade 12 in arts, language, and history. In recent years, Marie has been researching in the field of guidance and orientation to demystify the career paths student desires partake. Welcome, Marie-Audrey.
Bonjour, hello, pleasure to be with you today. So excited for this conversation.
It is very exciting. Who knew that we'd be here? But I can't wait to get into this. Everyone that knows me knows it's always about conversation, narrative, and discussion. But tonight's conversation is focusing in on the ever debatable, what is the right age to begin that career discovery? On this journey, I have spoken with parents, with students, with educators, with school leaders, professionals, and pretty much anyone who will make eye contact with me. And whenever I ask this question, it never surprises me that there is a really subjective answer, and then there's a very deep connection to the answer. Most often in these stories, I hear things that adults wish they had when they were younger. But tonight, we're going to be talking about it from each of our perspectives, bringing in the professional voice and, of course, the personal voice. And I think that it's important that we bring all voices to this conversation. But before we jump into it, I'm going to go around the table. If you could just talk to us a little bit about why this conversation is important to you from your perspective. Marie, we are going to start with you. Take it out. Tell us why you're here and why this is an important conversation that you want to be involved in.
Well, thank you, Maria, for the question. For me, of course, I'm a mother of six, and it's very important to ensure that my children not only give back to society, but understand what their gifts, their talents are, and that they are well-rounded in their environment and supported. But also, I feel like time has changed, and students need better help to develop where they want to go and the pathway that they're taking. And I believe that it starts with educators, and as well as the need for community partnerships to ensure that students evolve in the right directions that they want to go to.
Amazing. I completely agree. Wajd, why are you here and why is this important? I know that in the United Arab Emirates, there's a lot of discussion about youth and employability and preparing young people for that. But why did you decide that this was a conversation that you wanted to be part of?
It's kind of a personal, it's a personal reason. I want to try to give the youth as as much information as possible. Times are changing real quick, just like was mentioned that as you go and study, whatever you're studying, you're not sure what you want to be later on. And it started with my nephew and niece. They're chefs and they're like 12, 13 years old. And you ask them, it's like, so what do you want to be? You say, oh, I want to do this and this and this. So how can you hone in to what would help them make a decision and then focus on that, something that they love, add passion into it, because it becomes much more enriching later on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's very, very exciting to have you here. Cliona, you sing the song of my favorite, you sing the tune to my favorite song. We resonate deeply on many levels in terms of career development. You invested your time and your career in helping the youth, and you even decided to take a career turn from teaching maths to being the head of a career development program. Why is this conversation important to you?
I've worked in education for over 20 years now, and I have seen so many students not know where they want to go, what they want to do with the rest of their lives after they leave school. And I really felt like that's what we're there for. We should be there to guide them and to help them in making those choices. And they can't make those choices if they're not given the correct information. And the main thing was just working with them, allowing the students to see where their strengths are, see where their passions are, what they really enjoy, and how they can bring that further. Over the 20 years, I've had a number of students that I've taught that have gone into careers that they have really not enjoyed because they followed someone else's dream more than anything. And I think it's letting the students understand where their dreams are and where their passions are, rather than, I suppose, being guided by other people's choices more than anything. Really, they just need to know their own strengths. And I think the earlier we start doing that, the better.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Cliona. Okay, we're going to jump into it. Before I ask this first question, from your professional perspectives and going around the table, we're really talking about the right age. And I know that it's debatable. I know it's subjective. But before we discuss what is the right age, I want to kind of bring it into context. In an earlier conversation I had today with another professional based in the UK, we were discussing the limitations that we're putting on young people when we make them think about future employability, the pressure and narrowing their perspective. So it's quite a debated conversation. Cliona, you were mentioning the earlier we can do it, the better, which resonates with many career practitioners. However, how can we not consider what world governments are really paying attention to is the concern of the rising youth unemployment. In having these discussions, how do we not really start thinking more deeply about when is the right age if we're not going to be paying attention to those concerns about youth unemployment? And when I think about careers discovery and careers exploration and career readiness, I'm always thinking, well, why are we having this conversation? Why is it important? And from my perspective, I know that the journey of careers is not a linear journey. It really is very dynamic, it's complex, which means whether a professional, a parent, a teacher, everyone will have their perspective. But we do have to decide as educators when the right age will be. If we look at policy, very often reports, for example, by the Organization of the Economic Development and the OECD. Sorry, I'm losing my words right now. I'm so excited. They discuss the age of 15. They use that age of 15 and above in helping young people to become career ready. Is that an age that we should be focusing on, or should we start earlier? So I'm going to go around the table as a professional. So we're wearing that professional hat right now. When we're working in career development or helping a young person in career development, when do you think is that right age? Wajd, what do you think? You're in the industry right now. You're working in industry. When do you think that right age would be?
I don't think 15 is just the age that should have this discussion. It should start. I know that talking to young people from different ages, sometimes they know what they want to be at the age of 7 or 8. They're inspired by being a firefighter or a pilot, or things that they loved by just seeing and experiencing. They want to be like their father or mother, right? I think that it's any age, and when I mean any age, I'm based on my career. I've changed my career 4 times, and I don't regret it, because every career, every step that I took, every role I was in, taught me a lot of things and taught me what I would like to do and what I don't want to do, and that helped me develop a unique skill set. I think that at 15 is a good age to ask that question, but at the same time, we want to make sure that it's not set in stone. You can always change later on. You have different interests. There's different. You see, the world is changing at an amazing rate. That new technologies, new posts. There's some. I used to remember in my time there was a fax machine operator. So all they do is fax machines. Now fax machines are obsolete.
I'm not going to pretend to know what a fax is. I don't want to disclose my age.
Okay, it's okay. A fax machine, I'll tell you later what it does. It's a fantastic machine. But things keep on changing. And therefore, yes, you start the conversation, but always remind the student that it's okay to discover and self-reflect.
Incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much, Wajd. Cliona, you're in education. You're wearing 2 hats, educator and career development practitioner. When do you think in your professional practice would be the ideal age to begin that conversation?
I think it's never too early to begin that. Career discovery is exactly that. You're discovering what you like and what you don't like. It's not saying that you're ready to set your career in stone and what you want to do. It is really just trying things out, finding out a little bit more about something. It's really a crucial part of a child's development. I know, I've said this to you before, Maria, I've got a 5-year-old son who is able to tell me exactly what he wants to be. And it hasn't changed for the last 3 years. It may change in the future, but he is relating to things that he's seen. And that's the main thing I keep repeating to the students. If you see it, you can be it. Basically, these hearing what other people do, finding out about jobs. And you're never too early to find out about those careers. I know I sit with my son at the moment, and I've recently put something on LinkedIn about the jobs that Paddington has in the Paddington movie. We're talking about those careers. We're talking about the jobs they do, talking about jobs that their favorite cartoon character does. It's really just thinking about those things and getting children, I suppose, talking about what's happening. What does that job involve? Not as we're not doing it as a lesson or as something really strict and you have to learn from this, but it's more about the conversations and the things that happen outside the classroom. Obviously, I am a teacher. If you ask me, where do I think it should happen within schools? Once again, I think it should happen as early as possible. There is nothing to say that 5, 6, 7-year-olds can't be hearing about jobs that are out there, especially things that they're already aware of, and bringing it that little bit further. So it's all about that career exposure mainly, exposing them to things and what they could be. I suppose that's what I find the most important. And you can do that without it being as I said, a lesson, without it being something really set in stone. It is just those little small conversations and something that could be happening every day within the classroom and outside it.
Thank you so much, Cliona. Marie-Audrey, we're coming round to you. I can't wait to hear what you're thinking, because Wajd was talking about the career discovery in terms of how he went into different careers, and that a young person, even at the age of 15, can make a decision and it can change as it would change. Cliona talked from the perspective of an educator and a practitioner in saying that it doesn't need to be a formalized lesson. It can be a conversation. Where do you fit on that spectrum?
Well, kind of like to balance it out a bit, having a purpose is motivation. When you have motivation, you want to learn, you want to explore. And for me, it goes back a little bit personal, where my last babies are twins. They're 2.5-year-olds. And Remy, since he can crawl, goes to food. He loves food. He loves to explore food. And my friend said he's going to be a chef. And I thought to myself, why would you say that? You have no idea who he is. She says, but look, pay attention. Take away your hat of what you know and be in the moment. And it made me reflect in a way that I thought, it's right away. As soon as they enter a building, an education building, whether it's the early years, elementary school, high school, and it's a continuous progress where we should look at the student for who they are, understand them, and help them grow. Because I believe that if, as educators, even as parents, if we create an environment that allows them to independently take this career discovery, imagine where they will be once they're ready to take, whether it's skills, whether it's college, whether it's university. So I think it's more in the balance act of building that relationship with your child or with the student to understand who they are and to help them grow and to question them, but also in a balancing way where you kind of test their abilities as well, because you don't want them to just be focused on one thing. I think it's really great what Wajd was saying about, he's had 4 different careers or 4 different experiences. And I think that's important, because that's how you grow as an individual, is by trying and by discovering new aspects. So
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that you're all speaking there's a lot of commonalities in what you're all saying. I think what we're also highlighting is that there's not one right answer. And this idea of the one right age would mean, like Cliona was saying, is formalizing it in making it fit a certain, it has to fit this way. But as an educator, it doesn't come into one lesson. It really comes into, and that's why it's called a conversation. It should kind of weave its way through every lesson. Every lesson is an opportunity to talk about the world of work. Cliona, you mentioned the Paddington cartoon. If we look at the animations that young people, very young children are exposed to, if we really dive into some of those animations, they are all work related. We're just not naming them, but children are exposed to them on the regular. And I think as well, leading into our next question, which is also very important, is before we begin discovering careers, I think the idea of definitions is important. Context, I would say, is important. So we're going to start with defining what career readiness means to each of you. And the reason I ask this question is because how can we decide the right age? How can we decide as communities that we're preparing young people for the future of work if we're not even in agreement for what the definition of career readiness is? So I did some literature hunting, and I came across a definition of career readiness, in that career readiness is about helping young people gain awareness of themselves, to gain knowledge of the requirements for work and the skills for reasons of oneself to make a career choice for their future. And from that, what I took away, and this was a combination of different literature, and it's kind of bringing it all together. But the interesting part of this is nowhere in the literature did I come across university applications or career readiness. But when we look at the education system, it seems like there's so much focus on post-secondary education with the assumption that that's going to make a young person career ready. So what does career readiness mean to you, and how would you see it taking effect in helping a young person build more career discovery? So we're going to start with Cliona. As an educator and a practitioner, how would you define career readiness?
It's, I suppose, making sure the students are aware of the skills that they need to, I suppose, to make sure that they can be successful in whatever their chosen career is. So you're looking at that they're aware of their own strengths, their own areas for development, and how they can develop employability skills in general that'll make them successful overall.
Thank you so much. Marie, how would you define career readiness?
You know, I'm still trying to really pinpoint, and I believe that it depends at what stage as well, because as we were talking about earlier, you know, it can come as early as 5 years old. And for me, it's really when we can bring the individual into a reflexivity about what interests they have and what they want to give back into the world and what they think they're ready to give back. Of course, exploring different types of careers that, you know, kind of embody who they are as individuals. But I don't really have, for me, that there's just so much still to kind of like read on and really explore. And I feel like career readiness is also, you know, when you're walking individually with that student and understanding who they are, because they have different career readiness. Like once you become a teenager and you get your first job, you kind of take what you can get, right? And then after that, you gain experience. So now you're ready for a different type of level career readiness. You're like, okay, I worked in the food industry. Now I feel like I've gained some leadership in the kitchen. I want to see what I can do when it comes to working in, I don't know, as a store clerk or, you know, in a mall or whichever. And then you grow from there. So I think it depends where they're at.
I love that. It's a very dynamic process. Thank you. Wajd, what does career readiness mean for you?
I did some literature hunting about career readiness as well, and I came up with some. It's an idea of the important areas to focus on when you're in school, when you're in university. There's some skills that you don't even know that you're learning once you're in the workplace, because there's similarities. For instance, teamwork. When you're out with your friends in school, that teaches you teamwork. When you work on projects together, that's a very important skill if you're going to work anywhere, regardless. I heard somewhere where find out your passion, find out what you're good at, and try to figure out a way to make money out of it, right? So there's certain skills that I noticed that even in the workplace that are so important that you pick it up in university, like teamwork, critical thinking. You know, how are you gonna trick the teacher into, you know, by passing the essay, or you kind of find ways, and these skills, but not necessarily in that manner, but you develop skills like tech savviness. You would know how to use a computer and work most of your projects on using tech, right? Oral and writing skills. These are so important. Communication, and you can't develop that as you go on, as you go through school and university. So, to conclude, I would say some of the basic necessities of working in a workplace, or even if you're somebody who doesn't want to work from a 9-to-5 kind of job, you're into operations, or you want to start your own business. All these are necessary for you to either further evolve, or it's just a necessity in the workplace to really understand. I always, because I'm a life coach, I might sound biased, but self-reflection is so important. And it's not only once. You find a way to do it again and again until you find your true purpose. Everybody has a purpose in this life, and once you discover that purpose, everything kind of comes into play with that. It's just it's an energy thing. I'm not sure how to explain it, but that's basically what I think. In career readiness, it's multiple things. Self-reflection is one of them. There's some soft skills that you learn in university and school. Really focus on that, and then you'll kind of be ready for your career. And then if you want to change it, it might be a little change or drastic change, and none of them are wrong. They're both right.
So listening to the three of you, it really makes me think, how can we decide the right age? How can we decide what is careers education if we can't, as a global community, even decide on the context of career readiness? And I think what we're learning is that there's not one definition. It's a multitude of things, like you were saying, Wajd and Marie and Cliona, in that career readiness is bigger than just one thing. It's a multitude of self-reflection, of gaining those skills, but also, as Cliona was saying as well, it's giving a young person that opportunity to self-explore and discover through their education conversations. So in looking at career readiness and thinking about your own professional perspectives, do you believe that we should be paying more attention to careers education in secondary schooling? And how important is that development for the youth in each of the countries that you represent? So Cliona, you're wearing two hats right now because you represent the voice of the UAE and the voice of the United Kingdom, don't you? So you're going to kind of wear both of those hats when you're using that perspective. So we'll start with Cliona, no pressure. How important is career development for students using your perspective, and how important is it that we bring in that education?
I think the main thing is, and it doesn't matter where we are in the world, is that we're equipping the youth with the skills that they need for the future. The main thing is that a lot of the students that I'm teaching at the moment are going to be doing jobs that don't even exist yet. So can we set them up for those jobs? We can set them up for any job that they have got those main employability skills, the same ones as you just mentioned earlier. Problem solving, critical thinking, communication skills, empathy, collaboration, working together. These are the kind of things that they're going to need no matter which jobs they're in, and no matter which country in the world they work in. And I think just even starting with those skills and making sure that they can work together to solve whatever problems in the world exist when they are actually looking for a job. That's the main thing we need to look for.
Thank you, Cliona. Marie, what do you think? How important is it? So you're coming through with the voice of Canadians. And I mean, in Canada, as complex as it is, we can't even agree on an education curriculum, let alone career guidance. But using your voice and using your perspective, how important is career development for the youth of Canada, and why?
Well, it's absolutely important because I mean, the world is evolving and we're changing, and the needs and the requirements are changing. And it brings me back to one of my favorite courses throughout my master's degree. And it was about higher leadership and higher education. And there was an article that a professor wrote, and she spoke about the living cycle of a student and how it seems that when a student arrives in their post-secondary education, everything that they were or who they are is erased. And then they go in, and then it's a structure, and then it's this, and this to make sure that you are at from point A to point Z. But wait a second. That child, that student has a life cycle. They are somebody, they have an identity, and that's very important in career development. So that's why I truly believe that throughout their education, you know, they do learn the skills, as we've all mentioned, they do learn the discipline, and they need to understand the roadmap. They need to understand that if I want to be a lawyer and I have the abilities and capabilities to become a lawyer, then I need to understand what I need to do. And that's why it's very important for the student to have a co-creation of their career pathways right from the beginning, as soon as we can. Who are we to say, well, no, that's not a good idea? You don't know that. You don't know the capabilities of that student. And that's very important to recognize that we are out of control. We are just there to guide and help them. And for me, it's very passionate because, I believe that everyone needs to live their passion. But we have to understand that with living this passion, there's also a set of skills and discipline and structure that we need to get there. It's not just a free-for-all. Great, you have a passion, but remember, you have to work hard. And that, for me, for high school students, right away as soon as they get in, especially if they know where they want to go. But the co-creation, their voice matters. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Marie. Wajd, the UAE is putting a lot of focus on the youth and future employment. We're in, I think, one of the most vision-focused countries in the world. Everyone's paying attention to the United Arab Emirates, and the government is focusing heavily on preparing their youth for those future careers. It's an exciting time to be an educator and a young person in this country. Why do you believe that career development is important for the youth of the UAE, not only to thrive in their home country, but also around the world?
I think it's important because the jobs have changed since, it's like 25 years. They've changed dramatically. The IT person now is not the same when I first graduated. I'm an IT major, and I was specifically in networking, so infrastructure. Now, even my workplace, the IT department has evolved to be something like 20 plus verticals, different kinds of IT. So what's important is that to kind of explain for anybody who wants to develop their career that you can be whoever and whatever you want to put your mind into. You don't have to be in business, you don't have to be in engineering, you don't have to be in all these disciplines that have been going on for many years. What will help, I believe, is that you kind of give them the whole menu. Like you can tell them there's aero, there's a lot of different activities that we as maybe Emiratis haven't been in, but now we see it more and more. And that's pretty exciting for me to see that we've touched upon every possible kind of discipline in terms of, aircraft mainframe to engines to understand. Like there's, I've met recently someone who is a helicopter engineer, somebody who fixes helicopters, and I was very proud because he loves helicopters, and to see that is great for me. I love to see somebody who loves their job. It gives such life to what they're doing, and to kind of give that opportunity to anybody, saying that you can be whatever you want to be. If you want to design clothes, you can design clothes. If you want to, build chips, you can. Just give them that confidence. Give them that motivation, that discover your own passion.
So do you believe that it's important for career development that young people understand the broad choices that they have and that they can really express themselves and think outside the box and not just be limited by what they were told existed, that in order to thrive as a community, we really need young people to be more outside that box thinking?
Yeah, I think they should discover it on their own.
Wonderful.
And they just keep on trying, eventually they'll find the answer.
I think what's really important to remember in terms of career readiness and career discovery is that it is a very subjective experience. Just having the four of us on this panel coming from different perspectives, we all have our own philosophical perspectives as to what we think would be the ideal solution. But of course, we can't make decisions for every young person. Now, in looking at career guidance, if I could wave my magic wand and say, your wish is my command, how would you design the ideal career guidance? If you could make a choice and propose the guidance, what would you choose that schools implement to ensure that the youth are career ready for their future? We'll start with Marie.
I think that's a great question, and I believe we all want a magic wand. For me, two things. I think that it should be more personalized, more individualized, not, okay, you want to be this, here are the courses that you need to take. I remember when I was in high school, I wanted to be a coroner. Fascinated. I loved it. But my math, I didn't understand. And I had someone who said, okay, well, if you want to be a coroner, you need this, this, this. And I got so overwhelmed. I thought, that's it. My life is over. I'm not going to be anything. And I became something that I didn't think I was going to become, which is a leader in education, which is great. And I believe that my magic wand would be, number one, to put a guidance counselor in elementary schools to help students that do question career development, that do say, hey, okay, I'm in grade 6, but you know what? I'm really interested in becoming an excavator. I'm interested in architecture. And just to have that conversation initiated in elementary school would be amazing. And the second thing is to go back to our last question, is that the life cycle is implicated and that we understand who the student is, because I do believe that individuality equals diversity, inclusivity, and equitability in who they can become.
Thank you so much, Marie. Wajd, what would you implement? Marie gave us 2 ideas. What would you add to that?
I'll go first. I would propose a coach, a life coach. Oh, the whole reason, it could be biased because I'm a life coach myself, but the idea is what I do when I help my clients, I help them discover they have the answers. I just ask them the questions that makes them tap into that part of their, soul, or that part of their brain that has the answer, but is too busy, too afraid to explore. And when they say it, they hear it. And that's where, the aha moment comes into play. And I think the next evolution of schools is that they're going to have a life coach there, because with coaching, you can really ask the right questions, and I don't mean that the career advisors can't be life coach, they can, but that's another skill that will really help the student self-reflect and answer their own questions.
Interesting.
Right?
So what you're proposing is that the coach would help young people gain more self-awareness, which was in what you were proposing in terms of that career readiness. And Marie, you were also talking in terms of reflexivity. Amazing. Cliona, you're in this practice. You work with young people every single day in the capacity of career practitioner. I'm sure you have a list as long as we could think of, but if you could pick a couple of things and say, if we implemented these top 2 or 3 things, we could be on the right path.
I think my main thing is that career discovery becomes an integral part of the curriculum, that it's not thought of as an add-on or less important than the other academic subjects that we're looking at. Because really, if we're preparing students for exams and to get through this and get into whatever university they want, should we not be preparing them for their future and the life that they'll enjoy, and I suppose any way that they can find success, rather than just through exams, through actually being in a career that they enjoy and that they really want to do. To do that, I think we need to make sure that career discovery is happening in every lesson. It comes in there that they're not afraid to ask any teacher about, well, would this relate to jobs, or where could I use this in future? Would you have any recommendations? And be able to speak to your history teacher or your maths teacher or anyone in the school about that. I suppose the other thing I would say is probably coming from the side that I think every school should have a fully qualified, impartial career guidance counsellor, someone that is up to date with everything that's going on, that they have signed and sworn to be impartial. They're not pushing a school's agenda, they're not pushing a university's agenda or the parents' agenda, that they are there to advocate for that child, and that they're there to listen to what the child actually wants. That would be the main thing I would think of.
Incredible, incredible, incredible. I resonate with everything you've all said. I'm so conscious of our time. We're live on LinkedIn. It's the end of a workday, the beginning of a workday for Marie over in Canada. We're going to bring it to a wrap. Just before we say goodbye, what is the one thing that you wish that the listener watching this right now will remember about career education for the youth? Wajd, what is your leaving? If you don't remember anything from this conversation, I hope that you'll remember this.
Well, it's all about attitudes towards, and it's okay to fail. It's just something that my ex-boss told me, is that fail fast. You know, try new things, fail fast. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can always try again. You can always change your mind. You can always change your mind. It's
I love that. I love that. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that. Cliona, what is the leaving piece of nugget that you want people to be remembering after this conversation has come to an end?
Mainly just that career discovery is all about the student or the person doing it. It's all about finding out what they enjoy and what they want to do. And there is nothing wrong with finding out that there's something you don't enjoy. It just brings you one step closer to what you actually do enjoy. So keep looking for that.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And Marie-Audrey, what is our piece of nugget that you want us to remember?
I just want to, I'm so sorry, Wajd, what you said about failure. I was writing about failure this weekend, and there was an article on Forbes. It came out in 2008. I'll have to send you the article, Maria, to share. And it speaks about valuing failure. And the example that the writer used is, if you look at our leaders, you know, we have this thing about achievements, which is great. But if you look at the leaders that inspire us, what inspires us about them is their failures. They're like, yeah, I failed here, but I came back and I did this, and I can offer that. So I think that that is a great piece of advice not to forget. And thank you, because that's inspiring for me. But I think at the end of the day, for myself, don't forget the student's voice. As professionals, parents, anybody that enters a child's life and their pathway for them to discover who they are and what they want in their career, they have a voice, and that voice trumps it all. We're here to guide them, and we're here to ensure that they have the success that they're looking for. Of course, there's some constructive conversation to have at times, and we all know in high school it's not very easy, because, you know, they think they know it all, but that's just the process we all go through. I went through it, I'm sure all of you did, but they have a voice, and that is number one to remember.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you, Cliona. Thank you, Wajd. And thank you, everybody, for watching. My name is Ms.V. We were speaking with Cliona McMenamin, who is an experienced and highly qualified career practitioner working here in the United Arab Emirates. She is the head of a career development program in an outstanding school in the UAE. Wajd AlHashmi is a program manager, master coach, and financial wellness coach. And of course, we have Marie. Marie, you wear so many hats, so many hats. I feel like we're really limiting what you're doing here, but we're going to leave everybody with what you asked us. Not only did you come to us with the voice of a professional educator, you also came with the voice of a mother of 6. And I so appreciate that you brought that into the conversation, because at the end of the day, it is really important to remember, regardless of what hat we wear, we are always coming from that perspective of an elder in a young person's life, whether we're a teacher, a parent, or even a community member. Thank you all for being with me, and thank you for engaging in this conversation. It is probably one of the most debatable conversations I've come across in the 21st century. When is the right time? If you're listening for the answer, I think we can all agree that it is still up to conversation. Don't limit yourself by an age. Begin those career conversations as early as you can, and they don't need to be heavy and so difficult to have. Start off with some of the inspiration that Cliona brought to us. Use a cartoon character like the Paddington Bear and begin to have those career conversations with your children at home. Thank you everyone for watching. Wherever you are in the world, I will see you next month for our next live when I bring another career conversation to LinkedIn.